We have a gun grab story as letters go out to certificate holders in Gwent.
They're hoping that people will drop their appeal against them for financial reasons, which I believe that's what's happening with people.
We're hunting in the north of England and looking at the impact of a Labour ban on another chunk of country life.
Don't think I'd sustain my lifestyle just now or without hunting.
Terry Doe examines the fabulously expensive Skout Epoch air rifle in all the gear.
Believe me, I'm very reluctant to send it back.
David is at the London Farmers' protest as well as occupying the news stump. And James has the latest YouTube hunting films in this week's Hunting YouTube. Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. It is the worst letter a British gun owner can get. Here is Gareth Davis. You may remember him. He accidentally shot himself in the arm while out foxing, getting not just his official firearm certificate revocation, but a notice that Gwent Police plans to destroy the guns, the ammunition and even the expensive thermal optics they seized from him.
Please note that Gwent Police cannot retain your property indefinitely at the expense of the public purse.
We did a film with Gareth and his friend Mark about the accident, which took place in Gloucestershire in January 2024. The film showed how Gloucestershire police not only exonerated Mark and Gareth, but suggested that Mark should be put up for an award. The pair of them live in Gwent, and that's not how Gwent police reacted.
Once we'd done the film, within a day or two of the film being made, I had a phone call off Gwent Police to say that they was now starting to deal with the actions of what had been done. And I've been corresponding with various police officers, trying to find out what's going on, and they keep on referring the incident to a higher person, which they've never got in contact with us. You know, I sent her emails. She reckons she didn't receive the emails. I phoned on numerous occasions and asked her to phone back, and she hasn't rung back.
Now we know why. Gwent Police was trying to find a reason to take away his firearms, as they have with dozens of shooters locally. It is a gun owner witch hunt. In Gareth's case, it is Gwent Police's contention that it is impossible for a gun to go off if you drop it. Gwent Police says that the only way a gun can go off is if someone pulls the trigger. Therefore, Gareth must be lying when he says that he accidentally shot himself with his rifle in the way he did. Gwent Police is already making mistakes in its revocation. It listed 5 items belonging to Gareth that it plans to destroy. However, the receipt it gave him when it seized his guns and ammunition shows only 4 items. Gwent Police has added a box of 2.2 ammunition to his inventory. If Gareth feels hard done by, it is nothing to the man who saved his life, his buddy Mark Wise. Gwent Police called Mark into a police station for a voluntary interview.
Well, they gave me an interview with a solicitor, said that they was cautioning me for fraud over my doctor's reports, and I said, well, I haven't done no fraud.
Thanks to the transparent nature of the British legal process, Gwent Police made it clear to Mark at the time that he can have a recording of the interview. Unfortunately, they did not make it available to him. Fortunately, he found his own way around that.
I put my phone on the table, and they said that when the interview was finished, that I will have the tape, and when the interview did finish, they didn't give me the tape, and I recorded it myself.
Mark has a duty solicitor for his interview who advises him to say no comment throughout. Wouldn't this be a good time to set the record straight? No, says the solicitor. What the police are trying to do is find discrepancies between what Mark told Gloucestershire Police in January and what he tells Gwent Police now. Here is the recording of the solicitor explaining that to Mark.
They know they've had your account, they've had Gary's account, right?
Yeah.
If you describe it any little bit different, they'll say, well, hang on a minute, you said the Gloucester Police back in January, ABC. Now you're trying to say that it's D, E, F and G, right? Well, that's just the way it is, right?
Yeah.
And ultimately, they'll use that as evidence against you. Because why is your story changing?
Mark sticks to that advice like a limpet.
Would you like to tell us what you did that evening?
No comment.
Okay. Can you confirm that you're a current firearms certificate holder?
No comment.
When you went out that evening, it was about 8 o'clock, I believe, that you left your house to pick Gareth Davis up. Is that correct?
No comment.
Okay. How friendly are you with Gareth Davis?
No comment.
You can hear the police getting more and more frustrated. It's a brave thing for Mark to do. We naturally want to help the police, but in this case they are against a gun owner who has passed societal tests to have a gun certificate since he was 17 years old, who is a better citizen than other citizens. Out in the field, Mark is law-abiding. In the police station, Mark has to obstruct. His relationship with the police has to flip from helpful to unhelpful, even though he is officially a good citizen. Here is the solicitor demolishing the police's line that because Mark didn't mention in his application 2 medical conditions, Paget's disease and a stroke, even though Mark's doctor does mention them, that Mark has committed fraud.
If the doctor's got no concerns and he's provided the doctor details, he believes that it doesn't affect his ability to have a
What he
license.
has to do is he has to tell us about it on his application form.
Where? He doesn't think that it's relevant. He's given you doctor's details and he doesn't think it's relevant either.
It's one of the ones, it is a listed condition. I'll actually get the form off.
Well, you have to show us a listed condition then.
You are, get it for now.
Where the illness he referred to is hereditary in my family, which I've had all my life, which is called Paget's disease, which I've had my license all the time on that. And the second one was a stroke 10 years ago, which I've still had my license, still twice since then.
Any other physical or mental or combination of conditions which you may think be relevant? So if he says that he doesn't believe it to be relevant, where does it say, in there, where does it say that a stroke is mandatory for him to divulge to licensing?
Well, that's what I need him to say to me.
No. This interview isn't for him to defend himself. It's for, the question was put, why didn't he?
All right, we'll wait for the officer to come back. We'll go on with it now. And
because no.
Do you want that there now?
I want that there,
Yeah.
Because you believed that it was a question, you know, even though you said about information about poaching and being on land that he's not authorised to be on, and was he on land not authorised to be on at the time of the incident, knowing full well you were in possession of evidence to prove that he was, and he did have permission, you indicated in this form that he is duty bound to provide evidence in relation to the stroke. And in number 5 there, doesn't mention stroke whatsoever. However you want to interpret that bit there is down to you. It doesn't say stroke.
The police give Mark a thorough grilling on whether he might have been poaching. There's a lot in there designed to catch Mark out, and the police can't find the form where it lists the condition. There are bigger questions than simply whether a police force has made a few mistakes. Helping the police with your application puts you in a catch-22 situation. In order to take part in a voluntary interview, Mark has to accept a caution. Many police forces use your acceptance of a caution as a reason in itself to refuse a gun certificate. They also ask Mark questions about his ability to earn an income, which is one way of finding out if he can afford £20,000 for an appeal against the police revoking his certificate.
I think that's the road they're going down. They're hoping that people will drop the appeal against them for financial reasons, which I believe that's what's happening with people.
Mark had the same letter as Gareth. That tries to put him in another impossible situation. It says he either has to collect his guns in 3 weeks' time, even though they have revoked his certificate, or someone with a firearms certificate has to get a load of variations for them, which is impossible in the time frame, or he is forced to authorise the police to destroy them.
I've had a letter stating either get my guns from the police station by the 3rd of December, or they can destroy them or put them on somebody else's licence, which I only phoned on Friday and they turned me in no way that I can have my guns back until this court case is over.
The good news for Mark is that the police threat to destroy his guns and other shooting kit is unlawful. They are his property. They seized them, they have to look after them, and one day return them in the same condition they took them. Police like to threaten to destroy guns. Here is barrister Peter Glenser explaining the law on that point at the Carter Jonas Game Fair Theatre this summer.
You may not have a ticket, but you still own the gun.
Back to Gareth, the original victim of the accident, and he thinks that Gwent Police is acting grossly unfairly.
Mark has been fighting his case since the accident. Like I said, I feel very sorry for Mark at the moment because, I mean, he does this all his life. That's all he does. It's his hobby, and you know, he didn't even get his guns out of the vehicle that night. He saved my life, and you've had his licence revoked as well.
I knew something like this was going to happen because they tried to take my guns off me for no reason at all. I've had my guns all my life, and I can't see why I should lose my guns over saving somebody's life.
If it's Gwent Police's contention that nobody with a medical condition can have a gun certificate, it may bump into Team GB Paralympic shooting, among others. If Gwent Police is trying to ban poor people from shooting sports, it may run into bigger problems. If it's Gwent Police's desire to ban gun ownership in its constabulary, perhaps it should come out and say so. And if you live in Gwent and you are worried about this case, please write to the Chief Constable and the local Police and Crime Commissioner. Email addresses below. Thank you, Mark and Gareth. Now, what's in this week's Fieldsports Extra? A hunt going to the farmers' protests, an embarrassed newsreader, and more from our angry Welsh gun certificate holder.
When I had somebody else's guns put on my licence, they phoned me up and asked me could I have them put it on it, and it was done within a day or two.
This week's Fieldsports Extra's exclusive competition is for a medical kit kindly donated by Jackal Medical.
So this week in Fieldsports Extra we're giving away a range medical kit. This kit's designed to be put into a range building, a syndicate hut, anywhere you would need emergency equipment to deal with a catastrophic bleed. What we want is people to win this and donate it to their club or their syndicate, put it somewhere where as many people can access it as possible and do as much good as we can.
Thanks, Simon. Become a Fieldsports member and watch our exclusive members-only show, Fieldsports Extra, to find out how to enter our free competition to win it. Now, well into injury time, it's David on the Fieldsports News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News. They came from every corner of the British Isles and made their presence felt, just yards from number 10 and number 11. Farmers, gamekeepers, hunters, pub owners, tree surgeons, basically anyone who owns a pair of wellies because of mud, not just puddles, amassed in London to protest against Labour's new inheritance tax on farms, which many feel will rip apart small farms and rural communities. Organised in just a matter of days, a dozen speakers brought passion and stardust to Westminster. I caught up with Mo from the Countryside Alliance before things got noisy.
You know, your audience know, it is one big, beautiful patchwork from farmers, gamekeepers, all the shops and pubs and everything that surrounds it. You know, that's what binds us all together. And really, a threat and an attack on one is an attack on all.
Jeremy Clarkson has found out for himself the issues facing British food production and was a real crowd pleaser, asking the government to do the right thing.
I beg of the government to be big, to accept that this was rushed through, it wasn't thought out, and it's a mistake.
Then there were the political leaders.
We know that we haven't always got it right, but this policy is so obviously unfair, so obviously cruel. We will do everything we can to make sure that in a few years' time, if they do not U-turn now, we will reverse this tax. Thank you, everybody.
You're putting food on our tables. You're the beating heart of our rural communities.
Reform UK didn't make an appearance on stage, but I caught up with Sean Matthews and Richard Tice from the party after the event in a pub where they'd been chatting to farmers.
You know, the truth is that the farming community are being absolutely shafted by this woeful Labour government.
It was a fantastic event, and if you want to see my full report, head over to the Farming Britain YouTube channel and please subscribe. While many farmers were in London, the Rural Payment Agency cut their cash. Without warning, the RPA took away the ability for farmers and their agents to submit capital grant applications. The Central Association for Agricultural Valuers published a short note on its website saying that there is a budget review and it's seeking clarity from the government. The RPA pays out an estimated £2 billion in grants to farmers and rural communities every year. The RSPB has set about a huge cost-cutting exercise in an attempt to raise cash. While country people protest in London, speculation is mounting that the RSPB plans to use the money to buy land from farmers at rock-bottom prices. The RSPB is sacking staff at cafes, shops, education programmes and visitor centres across 60 reserves, according to newspaper reports. It has produced a document with cost-cutting proposals, according to one newspaper. The RSPB refused to comment to that newspaper about the document. There are changes on the way to govern how police issue firearms licences in Britain. It comes after a review following the tragic deaths of 6 people in Plymouth in 2021. Jake Davison was licensed to own a shotgun and used it to kill his mother and 4 others before turning the gun on himself 3 years ago. He had previously lost his licence, but it was returned to him after he completed a police probation course. The incident has led to a government review of firearms licensing procedures after a recommendation by the coroner in the case and an independent police review. The result is that Policing Minister Dame Diana Johnson has announced plans to ensure licensing officers will have more consistent training standards nationwide. Digital medical records will also now officially be used as part of the application process. A man has been arrested by Wiltshire police after a horror attack on a farmer whose truck was rammed. Police studied this video taken from inside one of the vehicles taking part in the attack after it was circulated on social media. The poachers surrounded the farmer, rammed his 4-wheel drive and fired catapults at it, smashing the windows. The man, who's in his 20s and comes from the Wokingham area, is in custody while police continue their investigation. They've appealed for witnesses to come forward and have asked for dashcam footage from drivers using the A303 near Amesbury and M3 in Hampshire in the early hours of the 10th of November 2024. They're hoping to find someone who may have seen a convoy of 4-wheel drive vehicles fleeing the scene. It's 20 years since hunting foxes with hounds was banned, but now a new survey suggests that some animal control should be allowed. The YouGov survey published this week says 79% of people think hunting foxes with dogs should remain illegal. The survey also says that 53% of people agree farmers should be allowed to protect their livestock from pests by hunting. Hunting for food was okay, with 72% of people asked, and hunting to control overpopulated species was acceptable to 53% of those asked. The British Hound Sports Association welcomes the survey and says it has no plans to lobby for fox hunting with hounds to be reintroduced. YouGov does not say who commissioned the survey.
But it still have a very sort of black and white approach to the way they're interpreting the answers of questions. And the way they're asking the questions. There's one statistic that says only 1 in 10 Britons would support allowing hunting for purely recreational purposes. As far as hunting with hounds was concerned, it was never for purely recreational purposes. There was always the motivation behind it of fox control.
Scotland's new grouse-moor licensing scheme isn't legally safe, and that is forcing a change in the law which has left antis furious. It's just 5 months since the Scottish Government introduced the Wildlife Management and Muirburn Act, which was part designed to protect birds of prey from being illegally killed on grouse moors. Now the Scottish Government admits that the legislation was flawed, and it has made a change that's been criticised by several groups, including the RSPB. The amount of land governed by the new scheme has been greatly reduced amid fears by Nature Scott the legislation wasn't watertight. It will now allow estates to designate the licensable area to only those parts of a grouse moor where shooting takes place, a restriction that critics say could cover only hundreds of metres rather than hundreds of hectares. It's a move welcomed by conservation groups, including the Countryside Alliance, which was critical about the overbearing nature of the bill when it was announced.
We welcome, obviously, Nature Scott's decision to only licence part of the estate. I mean, that just makes sense, rather than licensing the whole of the estate that you may not necessarily have charge over or control over. What I think doesn't fit too well is the fact that if raptor persecution takes place off that licensed ground, then that licence could still be revoked. I think that needs to be revisited.
Basque is urging its members to complete a survey about Scotland's game and wildlife licensing process. The survey from Nature Scot is aimed at reviewing licensing protocols, including those for lethal control of deer. Basque fears the new system will pass on costs to hunters and introduce a register forcing anyone working in animal control to share their details on a public register.
The approaches to licensing should be based fundamentally on evidence. A guiding principle should be to use the least burdensome approach wherever possible. Obviously, most licenses are issued for reasons of overriding public importance, such as food security, conservation, prevention of diseases and safety. We do not support the creation of a public register in Scotland. Whilst there may be benefits in information around the number and type of individual licenses, on a national scale we would have serious concerns and cannot see how any further information could be provided without risking identifying individuals applying for licenses or holding licenses.
And finally, we all know that spending too much time at the pick and mix can be a problem. Well, how about this from Tennessee? A bear managed to find its way into a sweet store and clearly has a sweet tooth. Members of staff and the public film it as it makes itself comfortable and tucks into the sweets. We're told the bear eventually had its fill and leaves the store without paying. You are now to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts.
Thank you, David, who says London was cold, wet, horrible, and he is not going to go again unless you like this video and subscribe to Fieldsports channel. Thank you. Now, here's a word from Leica. Next, we're going hunting. Ed Swales is out with a pack of hounds in the north of England.
It's the morning of the first meet of the season in the heart of northern England. At the kennels, huntsman Jake and his assistant Charlie are selecting the hounds that will be running out ahead of the horses during the day's activities.
As soon as it's semi sort of light, we walk out just to give them a bit of good exercise and let them have a play. Feeding and condition are a big thing with horses really. You want to feed them the best quality food, and our hounds get fed raw flesh or beef that we get from a knacker's yard, and butcher's waste. We go and collect that once a week. A pack of hounds want to look like a whole, similar. So if you need to have them all looking the same condition-wise, they'll run up together better and hunt better together.
Jake's interest in hunting began when he was 10 years old and living in London.
I was brought up in Hackney in London. There was a local riding centre that my mum had got me and my sister riding lessons for when we were I was 5 I think and my sister was 10. My mum used to get horse and hound and always looked at the pictures and that kind of thing and thought that looked like great fun, and I had some friends that had a yard just near Epping. And there was a chap that kept his lorry there who went hunting with the Essex Farmers and Union, and I just pestered him every given second about taking me because I really wanted to go, and he took me for my first morning's autumn hunting, and I think when I was 10. I got obsessed with the sort of science of hunting and the venery, and that's what did it for me.
Charlie is Jake's apprentice. At 15, he's already been volunteering at the kennels for 5 years. His passion for hunting is rooted in a family steeped in the hunting cultural heritage of this area. His great-grandfather and grandfather hunted hounds, and both his parents are keen mounted followers.
Grandfather had stables and hunted a lot and took a lot of liveries. Then I was probably about 10 when I first hunted, properly. I've been to the meets and all that before that with my mum. Dad. And then when Jake moved up here and took over the kennels, Jake offered if I wanted to go help here. So I think that was about 4 years ago now. This morning, got up at 5:30, started at 6, and got in here and moved the hounds off the yards to the draw yard. Picked all the muck up and then pressure washed it all down and got ready to walk out for Jake while he was doing the horses.
He laments a time he was born too late to experience, but can still appreciate through stories.
It's a bit sad that I can't really do it, and that we don't get to be so open about it.
Now with talk of a ban on trail hunting, Jake and Charlie are concerned about what it might mean for them and their community. People come from miles around to the meet at the start of each hunt.
I watch the hounds and just watch the meet for the first time of the year. I think it's their first meeting, so just come to support the hunt. It's part of real life, isn't it? It's part of the community. You can see by the amount of people that's turned out the day how important it is.
I think a lot of people are frightened to come now because it's like bad publicity, isn't it? You know, people, depends where you live, you get recognised, you get a lot of grief for it, you know, you just really hold the tradition, it's just tradition, you know.
Roger Bennett is the president of the Piccadilly Hunt, which celebrated its 75th anniversary this year.
Piccadilly Hunt was founded by my father in 1949 when he organised a demonstration, a farmers' demonstration in London against a private members' bill. And they hired a lot of horses from round Hyde Park, rode down Piccadilly and up Regent Street, then back into Hyde Park, and then they went down and lobbied MPs. The agricultural minister at the time, in a Labour government, came to the conclusion after listening, which is something that doesn't happen in Parliament much these days when it comes to issues that relate to the countryside anyway. He said that if they banned fox hunting in particular, or hunting generally with hounds, that it would create even greater cruelty than if it remained. So nothing much has changed really in 75 years. It's still the same animal welfare issue.
For farrier Henry Williams, watching the hounds and the horses running through the English countryside is a family day out. A ban would be bad for many small business owners like him.
When I saw the news bulletin with the possible ban of trail hunting, first thing a bit sick. You just start thinking, don't you, how am I gonna cope, and you don't know. I mean, you try and have backup plans and backup options, but I don't know. I don't know what I would do. It would be terminal, really. It would be a massive, massive problem for me personally. I'm sure there's a lot of other folk that would feel the same, vets, saddlers. I mean, at this time of year in this area, that's going to be the most of all of our work. All of my family, really. My mum, she spent a long time with horses. My sister, she's works in horses in the countryside. My partner, she's the same. It would all come to an end. What do I do? All I know is farry. I could go on to do it elsewhere, and I would do it as much as I could, but I don't think I'd sustain my lifestyle just now or without hunting.
While a ban on trail hunting looms, Roger Bennett strongly believes the fight is not lost.
It is still a winnable situation.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, there are quite a lot of people in the hunting community that seem to think that we've lost already, which we haven't. We've still got the opportunity of retaining hunting, protecting hunting for the future. And Ed Swales is very much at the forefront with hunting kind. It's now very much at the forefront of the only person that I can see is actually standing up for hunting with hounds in a traditional sense.
With many of the riders around Charlie's age, it's clear the passion and enthusiasm for hunting will continue at least for another generation.
I think while there's another day tomorrow, there's hope for sure. It's gone this far. All of my family, if you pass it down, we've all done it. I've got John here already. Let's hope he can carry on and do it, and he can be here talking to you in 20 years.
Thanks, Ed, and all who took part in that. And thanks to the Hunting Kind organisation, which Ed runs, for fixing it. Now, we have a new tranche of prizes on our raffles website, fieldsportscompetitions.co.uk. Here is Tim Pilbeam.
What I can offer is a day rifle shooting. That starts with very simplistic rifle techniques, shooting techniques with a 2-2 rimfires. It's very, very agricultural, but actually it does the job.
Yeah, very DIY.
And then we kind of get those kind of rifle skills honed, and then we progress onto sticks. Most deer are shot with sticks, so therefore we go on to sticks. Once those skills we master, we actually move on to centerfire. So we just practice all those things which most hunters or riflemen in the UK do, shooting foxes or deer. If you haven't experienced rifle shooting before, what is it like? What does it feel like? Come down here, we'll just go through those what's involved, then we can go for a walk and shoot these sealed targets.
Takes after his father, Tim, yeah?
It takes after his father, I'm not too sure about that. But no, really good shooting there. Every one of those, you're shooting within probably about 3 inches.
Oh, wow.
We're about 60 metres away, but every single shot, so no problem at all. And I can guarantee you that most people go, that is really interesting, and you do come away from quite a sense of satisfaction. So actually, I've understood the discipline, I know in theory how to do it, but I've also experienced it in the open in the field. And if I can offer that to people, I'm more than happy.
Thanks, Tim. And as the film says, check out fieldsportscompetitions.co.uk. And thanks to one of our raffle winners, Colin Dyer, for sending us a picture of him with his prize, nearly £4,000 worth of Pulsar Telos thermal. Next, Terry Doe gets excited about a Rolls-Royce of air guns in All the Gear.
Hello, welcome to another edition of All the Gear, and this one's a little bit special. I'm about to send back to ASI Guns the Skout Epoch that I've been playing with for the last few months, and believe me, I'm very reluctant to send it back. But before I do case it up and get it ready for pickup, I'd like to tell you a couple of things about it. First of all, it does pretty much everything. It is possibly the future of where we're going, because it does so much and so differently that it is really a groundbreaking rifle. It is. It's incredibly accurate. You can change the barrels on it. You can tweak the various reg pressures on there. You can take the bottle off without discharging it. You can change the grips. It's got a magazine half the size of a Frisbee that in 177 holds, I think, 36 pellets. It comes with a toolkit that you could maintain a Formula One car with. It's amazing. It's an amazing piece of kit. Now, this rifle has been made deliberately pellet fussy. And the reason for that is simple. When it gets this specialised, you can't have a jack of all trades. It's just not like that. If you're going to go and make the rifle absolutely to prime tolerances and to shoot the best it can possibly shoot, you don't introduce a little bit of latitude with ammo choice. You don't. So whether it's pellets or slugs, the basics still rule. This thing has been made to give you absolutely every ounce of your talent in terms of results. And what you can't do is compromise all that by not painstakingly selecting the pellet. This is a pellet fussy rifle. You should be really fussy about the pellets you feed it.
Thanks, Terry. Next, from Kit to the wider world of hunting and shooting on YouTube, James Marchington brings you the best hunting videos in hunting YouTube.
This is Hunting YouTube with James to show the latest and best hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. Here's what I picked for you this week. First, Kendall Gray sets out to build a homemade bow and use it to take a deer. Along the way, he learns a lot about bows, arrows and arrowheads. Eventually, he gets his deer, but there's a twist at the end. Staying in the States, Thomas from Hoke Outdoors has an exciting duck flight over decoys after a north wind pushes lots of new birds into the area. He makes a nice mixed bag of mallard, pintail and teal. Over to New Zealand, and Lucy Nilsson is on her first overnight solo deer hunt. She's unfazed by the wet weather, gets her deer, and then has a tricky climb down to the carcass. South Africa and Stephanie Lee Poulsen is on a 7-day hunting adventure with Matt Van Vuren in this expensive-looking production from rifle maker Sacco. Along the way, they talk conservation, explore what it means to be a hunter, and on the last day, Stephanie finally gets the chance to pull the trigger on a zebra. Next, a buffalo hunt in South Africa that could have gone badly wrong. The Northern Cape Hunting School looks at mistakes they made and the lessons they learned for next time. As if that wasn't dangerous enough, Pedro Ampuero is bow hunting huge brown bears in the Kamchatka Peninsula in the far northeast of Russia, where the bears gather to feed on spawning salmon. After watching all those, you might be inspired to try filming yourself shooting and stalking. This film offers plenty of advice on kit, tips and techniques. It concentrates on shooting from a tree stand, US style, but much of it's equally relevant to other types of hunting. Once you've filmed your adventure, you'll want to show the world on YouTube. Well, here's one of the problems you'll face. David from Predator Protection UK explains why many of his videos are getting demonetized and what he plans to do about it. That's it for this week. I've put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the I symbol top right or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you'd like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email me the link, jamesm@fieldsportschannel.tv.
Well, that is it for this week. If you haven't done so already, please whiz over to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv. You can click to like us there on Facebook and on Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, pop your email address into our register page and we'll contact you about this show, Fieldsports Britain. It's at 7 p.m. UK time every Wednesday. And this has been Fieldsports Britain. Good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and goodbye.